Title: She asked for water. They gave her a war. Maya Collins pressed her back into seat 17B, trying to disappear into the cool, synthetic fabric. Her fingers curled around a paperback novel, its dog-eared cover camouflaging the real task at hand. She wasn't here for leisure reading. She wasn't here for rest. She was here for truth. To the average onlooker, Maya looked like any other professional flying coach on a Friday morning. Her navy blouse, her tidy gray slacks, and the small leather bag tucked beneath the seat in front of her all whispered normal. But hidden inside that bag, beneath a zippered pouch, was a badge issued by the United States government. And tucked between the pages of her novel, a sealed envelope containing documents she hoped she wouldn't have to use. Her assignment had started days earlier after the FBI received reports of persistent misconduct aboard a specific Delta Airlines route, New York to Los Angeles. Discrimination, harassment, threats. The complaints were whispered, tentative, and worst of all, dismissed. Maya had volunteered to investigate. She chose a middle seat, standard coach, no upgrades. That was where these stories usually unfolded. Prejudice thrived in cramped aisles, among overworked staff and impatient travelers. She needed to see what it looked like up close. At JFK, she had passed through security without incident. Her walk through the bustling terminal was uneventful, her ID tucked deep in her bag. She moved like a shadow among crowds of vacationers, business execs, and college students hauling backpacks bigger than their frames. Her pulse thrummed with anticipation, and her mind remained sharp. She had a job to do, and she had done it before. Then she met her. Flight attendant Greta Halston stood at the boarding gate, clipboard in hand, lips pursed in that signature way that hinted at barely masked disapproval. Greta didn't glance twice at the businessman ahead of Maya. She barely looked at the elderly woman with the cane. But the moment Maya approached, the smile faded entirely. "Boarding pass," Greta said without looking up. Maya handed it over. Their eyes met for only a second. "Seat 17B," Greta repeated flatly. "Try not to hold up the line." Maya nodded, polite as always. But she noted the tone, the subtle tightening of the mouth, the way Greta's eyes swept over her skin and hair before flicking away. She walked the narrow jet bridge with calm precision, letting the recycled air press against her skin. As she entered the plane, the younger flight attendant, Ellie, according to her name tag, offered a strained smile. "Welcome aboard." That smile, however brief, meant something. It said, "I see you. I know what's happening." Maya returned it quietly. She found her seat between a teenager glued to his headphones and a woman reading a fashion magazine. No one spoke to her. That was fine. Observation required silence. As passengers continued to file in, Maya watched Greta float down the aisle like a monarch inspecting her court. The older woman paused occasionally to scold someone whose bag jutted out too far, or to remind a toddler's mother to keep her child settled. Each warning was curt, almost bitter. But Maya noticed the pattern. Every single person Greta scolded was Black or Latino. When drink service began, Maya braced herself. Ellie rolled the cart first, taking orders with tired efficiency. But just before she reached Maya's row, Greta swooped in and took over. "What can I get you?" she asked the woman in the window seat with forced sweetness. "Coffee." The teenager asked for ginger ale. "And you?" Greta turned to Maya, the question laced with condescension. "Water, please," Maya said evenly. Greta filled a cup with ice, then poured from the pitcher. But as she handed the cup to Maya, her wrist jerked, deliberate or not. Maya couldn't be sure. Water sloshed onto Maya's blouse and tray table. "Oh," Greta said with theatrical blandness. "Sorry." She handed over a single napkin. Maya dabbed at her blouse. "No problem," she said. But her mind was recording everything. This wasn't an accident. It was a test. And it wouldn't be the last. Over the course of the flight, Greta returned to Maya's row multiple times. Once to ask about prohibited items and carry-on luggage. Once to make a vague comment about passengers who don't respect others' space. Another time, when turbulence hit, she accused Maya of having her seat too far reclined, even though it hadn't moved. Each encounter was a brick in a wall of manufactured suspicion. Maya never reacted. She smiled. She complied. She observed. But the tension mounted. Later, when Maya rose to use the restroom, she overheard Greta at the galley whispering to another crew member about the one in 17B who thinks she's better than everyone else. The words were venom, and they didn't go unnoticed. Ellie, the younger attendant, appeared rattled when Maya returned to her seat. "I'm sorry about earlier," Ellie whispered as she collected trash. "She's been like this before. Always finds someone to target." Maya gave her a gentle nod. Thanks for saying something. Then, hours later, it exploded. It started when Greta confronted a black man in row 20. He wore a charcoal suit and glasses, clearly a professional. His bag stuck out an inch from beneath the seat. Sir, that's a safety violation, Greta snapped, loud enough for the nearby rows to hear. Push your bag in. I will, the man said, startled. But Greta didn't move on. She demanded to inspect the bag. When he hesitated, she called him non-compliant and announced she'd report him to security. Then she reached for the intercom. That was Maya's breaking point. She stood. Ma'am, she said calmly, stepping into the aisle. That's unnecessary. Greta spun. Excuse me. He hasn't done anything wrong. You're escalating this for no reason. Greta's face twisted. Sit down before I report you too. Maya reached into her jacket and pulled out her badge. I'm Agent Maya Collins. FBI. The cabin fell silent. Gasps rippled through the rows. Greta froze, her eyes darting from the badge to Maya's face. Her mouth opened, but no words came. I've been documenting your behavior since we boarded, Maya continued. Your harassment, your threats, your bias. You will not intimidate this man, or anyone else, for the rest of this flight. Greta stumbled back a step. Ellie approached, trembling. She's telling the truth, she said to the passengers. Greta does this all the time. Passengers began murmuring, some nodding, others recording on their phones. The man in the suit, his name was Terrence, Maya later learned, looked at her like she'd just pulled him from a burning building. Security met them at the gate in Los Angeles. But it wasn't Terrence who got questioned. It was Greta. Ellie gave a statement. So did other passengers. Maya showed her badge again and offered to provide a full report. The airline put Greta on immediate suspension pending investigation. Later, back at her hotel, Maya filed a 12-page document detailing the events of the flight. It wasn't just about Greta. It was about the pattern. About what happens when unchecked power meets racial prejudice at 30,000 feet. 2 days later, Maya flew the same route again. Same airline. Same flight number. Greta was back. The crew hadn't expected her. And this time, the story wasn't just about microaggressions. There were whispers that Greta had worked with baggage handlers to target passengers, tagging their luggage for random searches, sometimes resulting in mysterious items being found during layovers. Maya's second flight confirmed the worst. When another black passenger was harassed mid-flight for a suspicious laptop bag, Maya stood again. Her badge came out. So did Ellie, now emboldened by Maya's presence. Together, they shut down the harassment before it spiraled. When the plane landed at JFK, TSA and Delta security were waiting, not for the passenger, but for Greta. This time, she didn't argue. Maya escorted the passenger out herself. He was shaking, humiliated, but safe. That night, a video of the confrontation hit social media. Maya's badge, her voice, the stunned silence of the plane, it all went viral. Not because she was FBI, but because she did what too many people were too afraid to do. Stand up. Speak out. Refuse to let prejudice pass as protocol. Greta was fired within the week. The airline issued a public apology. Mandatory retraining began across flight crews nationwide. Ellie received internal commendation. And Maya? She got reassigned. Her cover was blown, but her mission had succeeded. She had exposed not just one bad actor, but a system that tolerated her for far too long. Back in her office, Maya framed the boarding pass from that first flight. Seat 17B. A reminder that silence never brings justice, but standing up always does.